Is your iPhone ruining your life? There's a growing mood online. Young people are tired of being slaves to their phones. This summer, digital detox trends are taking off, and one viral TikTok video sums it up perfectly. POV: you bought a BlackBerry in 2025 because your iPhone is ruining your life. It's funny, but it's also true. Although, quick aside, back in the day, I actually worked at a company that sold Blackberries, and BlackBerry was called Crackberry because even that device was seen as hyper addictive in 2005. In 2007, Steve Jobs and Apple introduced the iPhone, a sleek device that promised to connect us, enlighten us, and empower us. It was billed as a tool for more freedom, more fun, and more productivity. And for a while, it felt that way. But nearly 20 years later, we're left asking, was the iPhone a blessing or a curse? Big tech companies, Apple, Google, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, dominate not only the global economy, but the American psyche as well. They built revolutionary tools that turned into addictive traps. Silicon Valley has given us incredible software and services, but it has also made us lonelier, more distracted, more divided, and less free. Is technology dividing America? Hello, America. I'm Patrick Trepanier on the American Restraint podcast, where we discuss tangible ways to fix America. The ideas in this podcast are largely based on my recent book, American Restraint, Taming Hyper-Individualism and Hyper-Capitalism. It's available on Amazon today. Today, we're talking about how to restrain big tech. Please consider subscribing to the show if you haven't already. All right, now back to the episode. Even big tech insiders are sounding the alarm. Here's some quotes from some of the very people who helped build the systems we're all addicted to. Former Facebook executive and All In podcast host Chamath Palihapitiya said, "It literally is at a point now where we've created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works. This is literally where we are. I would encourage all of you to internalize this. If you feed the beast will destroy you." Sean Parker, Facebook's founding president, confessed, "God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains." And then Tristan Harris, a former Google exec who has a special on a lot of this stuff on Netflix as well, he's head of the Center for Humane Technology, warned, the extractive attention economy, is tearing apart our shared social fabric, something that Chamath talked about earlier. This technology tearing apart our shared social fabric. These are not your average critics. Here's the key. They knew what they were building. They studied brain chemistry. They modeled their products on slot machines. They designed every notification, every scroll, and every like to keep us hooked. Although I will give them some credit that they're now looking back on what they created and at least calling it for what it is, rather than the people who are still running these companies and ignoring the problem. I think the Amish had a better idea. When the Amish encounter a new technology, they ask a simple question: will this help or harm the community? In contrast, modern Americans ask, will this new technology make my life more convenient? Will it help me make more money? Will it make me feel good right now? This is hyper-individualism at work. And it's why we need to talk seriously about how to restrain big tech. So why do we need to fix social media in order to fix America? Let's focus on the real culprit here. It's the toxic mix of smartphones plus social media plus always-on access. Social media promised to connect us, but what it delivered in America is division, envy, anxiety, and distraction. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, they thrive on one thing: keeping you online. They do that by using notifications to simulate variable rewards, like a slot machine. They encourage likes to mimic social validation. They designed infinite scroll and autoplay to trap you in an endless consumption loop. Social media is engineered addiction, and it doesn't just waste time. It shapes the way we think, feel, and relate to others. Division is profitable for social media companies. One of Facebook's own internal studies showed that its algorithm was exploiting the human brain's attraction to divisiveness. In plain English, the more outrageous the content, the more time you spend on the site. Why? Because more time on the site means more ads means more revenue, and more revenue means another billion for Mark Zuckerberg. That's it. Social media can also be really bad for your mental health. It's especially damaging for teens. Psychologist Jean Twenge's book, iGen, documents how social media has dramatically increased rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide among the youth. Young people are in crisis, not in spite of social media, but because of it. These platforms foster constant peer comparison, FOMO, online bullying, sleep disruption, addiction to dopamine spikes from likes and shares, and yet big tech doesn't care. If they did, they'd redesign their platforms, but that would hurt profits. Social media also doesn't care about privacy. On top of the mental health toll, tech companies treat your personal data like a free commodity. It's often said, if the product is free, you are the product. They harvest it, they analyze the data, they sell the data, and they use it to shape behavior, all without any meaningful consent. And they don't do this just once. They do it every second of every day. They know what you click, where you are, what you like, who you talk to, and what you might buy next. Do social media companies have too much market power? Absolutely. Tech companies like to talk about innovation, but their real game is monopoly. Google and Facebook have acquired hundreds of competitors, most overlooked by the FTC, by the way. Amazon bullies sellers and undercuts industries. Apple locks you into its ecosystem. These are not free markets. They're feudal kingdoms, and they have enormous political power. Big tech equals hyper-individualism plus hyper-capitalism. So what does this all mean? It means big tech is the perfect example of what happens when hyper-individualism and hyper-capitalism run wild. No shared values, no community standards, no concern for truth, virtue, or mental health. Just clicks, profits, and personal pleasure. In response to the challenges of big tech, we need to fix America by emphasizing restraint. For the next few episodes, we're talking about how states can push back, because Washington will not do it. But states still have power if they choose to use it. And there are some states out there that are starting to push back on big tech. Here are 3 bold policy ideas for restraint formula states. Number 1, encourage real innovation, not addictive apps. States can use tax policy and investment incentives to reward engineers and companies that build hardware, infrastructure, and life-improving tools, not just another viral social app. Prioritize solutions that solve real problems. Number 2, end corporate ownership of user data. Sensitive personal data should never be owned by corporations. States should pass legislation that treats personal data like a form of digital property, owned by an individual, not the platform. Create third-party neutral data warehouses, kind of like the credit bureaus, that store data ethically and transparently. And number 3, enforce antitrust laws within states if the federal government won't challenge monopolies. States can. Create state-level antitrust frameworks that prevent dominant platforms from exploiting users or killing competition. The tech industry should serve the public, not enslave it. And here's some final thoughts. The iPhone isn't evil. I have a smartphone. It's an Android smartphone. But the phone itself is not evil. Social media isn't demonic. But what we've built around them, this hyper-individualistic, always-on, exploitative digital culture, that's the problem. It's a big one. If we want to fix America, we need to rein in big tech. Not to destroy it, but to restore balance. America can be fixed, but only if we choose restraint. Thanks for watching. Please add your comments and have a great day.